Okay, so in today's video we're going to have a look at another C2 vocabulary exercise, and I'm going to get straight into it pretty much. I'll just mention that this week I'm working on a couple of videos for my exclusive members, another writing and also a very specific grammar video that somebody asked me for. Grammar vocabulary, not sure what to call it exactly, but they'll be coming out at some point this week as well. But for today, here's another C2 vocabulary video. Hope you enjoy it. Okay, so in today's video, we're going to have a look at a typical part one cloze, the multiple choice cloze in the proficiency exam. So you can see on the left of your screen all of the options, A, B, C, D, for each gap, 1 to 8 in the short text entitled Scientists and Communication. So I'm just going to go through the possible answers, talk about why I would choose one ahead of all the others, and let's see if I explain myself well enough that you don't have any queries afterwards. But of course, any doubts, leave a comment in the video, of course. Okay, so let's have a look at number one. Well, let's start reading. It says, scientists and communication. Scientists are often accused of being poor communicators, yet there are many reasons why scientists, A is the example, in particular, should be and often are good communicators. After all, science calls on, up, for, in enthusiasm, and scientists often possess this quality in large quantities. So we're talking about the ability of scientists to communicate. So it says, after all, science calls enthusiasm. So I think what we need to say here is that science requires enthusiasm, no? You need to be enthusiastic to be a scientist because, frankly, for a large portion of the population, science is quite dull. It's quite boring. So you have to be enthusiastic about it. It requires enthusiasm. It calls on enthusiasm. You call on something when you need it. That's absolutely true. But normally you call on somebody for help or something like that. So I don't think you would say it calls on enthusiasm as though science asks for enthusiasm. Doesn't quite sound right. Calls up enthusiasm. Call up normally just means to phone somebody, no? On the telephone. Also, we use it to be selected, for example, for the national team in a sports competition or something. You got called up to the national team. So no, doesn't quite sound right again. Calls for definitely means requires. Yeah. So science calls for enthusiasm, and scientists often possess this quality. Now, arresting quality, something can be arresting if it like traps you. It doesn't allow you to leave. It arrests you figuratively. An arresting quality. I don't think we'd call it an arresting quality. I don't think it's something that detains you exactly. Enthusiasm is an engaging quality. If you're enthusiastic, you certainly can draw people's attention. You engage them. You catch their. You get their concentration. Absolutely. I think it's engaging. Let's have a look at catching quality. No, that's too literal, to catch something. We talk about something being attractive, we call it eye-catching. Again, we're not even talking about physically attractive here, we're being figurative. Fetching, again. We often talk about something being fetching apart from literally, you throw a stick for a dog and you tell it to fetch it, to bring it back, to retrieve it, like the golden retrievers. But no, I think, and obviously we also say when you put maybe a woman is wearing a nice dress, or Harry Styles is wearing a nice dress, and and you say, "That's very fetching, Harry." Yes, that's very fetching. It suits you. It looks nice on you. So yeah, it's an engaging quality, isn't it? It's an engaging quality. It gets people's attention. That's not very well underlined. Yeah, there we go. An engaging quality. Scientists often possess this engaging quality in large quantities. Enthusiasm can be infectious, but to command the interest of readers, scientists must develop their other talents: clarity, observation, and knowledge. Now, I think scientists, a professional scientist, those qualities, those talents, clarity, observation, and knowledge are going to be things that most scientists have. I mean, if you're drawn to science as a subject, as a thing that you want to pursue a career in, you're going to be quite a clear thinking, observational, and knowledgeable person. So I think native, well, I don't think there's a country where all scientists are from. So no, native doesn't quite sound right. Innate, they're born with it. It's in them. They have it. Yeah, I think it's innate. Standard, I don't think it's standard. That kind of sounds like it's nothing out of the ordinary. That it's standard for. I suppose you could say it is standard for scientists to be knowledgeable, clear thinking, and observational people. But standard talents, it doesn't quite sound right. Typical talents, I suppose they're kind of typical talents of a scientist, but that's not the point we're trying to make here. They need to develop the other, talents that they have within them naturally as scientists. They're natural talents that most scientists have. Innate, yeah, definitely, it's innate. Yeah, okay. So yeah, they need to develop their other innate talents: clarity, observation, and knowledge. Those scientists who are logical thinkers can usually write clearly, and the more clearly thoughts are, the greater their potential value. I suppose the more clearly thoughts are expressed. So we have three sort of phrasal verbs, four possible phrasal verbs here. To express. So the more clearly thoughts are put across. Yeah, that sounds good to me, to be honest. Put across, I think put across, come over. Something comes over is the way it appears. So a thought can come across, or the way somebody says something can be perceived as, it can come over a little aggressive, a little bit rude. It can come across, we also say. I think given out, I don't think you give out your thoughts exactly. It's to hand out to people. No, that doesn't sound right. Set up. Set up does mean to establish something. It's normally more of a physical thing, though. You set up an experiment. You set up. It could be figurative sometimes. I don't think you set up your thoughts, though. It's not like you. No, that's not right. It's gonna be put across. The more clearly thoughts are expressed, the more clearly thoughts are put across. Are presented, I suppose, to put something across, I guess, to present, to express it, to show it. The greater their potential value. In the same way, those who observe must take account of subtle differences, for the observations they may as significant. Well, that's a difficult sentence. So, in the same way, those who observe must take account of subtle differences for the observations they may document, predict, enter, pronounce. An observation, a scientist will note it down. A scientist will note down an observation in a book. I don't think you predict an observation normally, do you? You certainly don't predict it as significant. Maybe you can predict an observation. An observation is something you observe. It's not like you predict it. It's really happened. No. Enter an observation? No, I don't think so. Pronounce? No. You document it, don't you? Yeah. Yeah. You document. So those who observe, scientists must take account of subtle differences for the observations they document as significant. So they must have this ability to notice small details. Now, this is why science isn't for everyone. Some people don't pay a lot of attention to detail. They're not interested in things so much as they are in, perhaps, people and life and history. I don't know. Let's see then. Finally, those who write must have something of basic, radical, intrinsic, central value to say. Well, I think if you write or if you say something, people are not going to be interested unless it is valuable. And how is something valuable? Central value, something of central value? Well, that would have to be central to something specific. This is centrally valuable to a particular topic that we're talking about. I think the answer, I think I know it. Radical value is not right, is it? Basic value. Do you want something to have basic value? No, I think it has to have a value that we know is real just for what you're saying. The thing that you're saying is valuable for what it is. It's intrinsic, yeah. I think intrinsic. Those who write must have something of intrinsic value to say. If what you're saying is not valuable, it's not important, then no one's going to read it, really, are they? Has to have intrinsic value. Yeah. A scientist whose work never sees the... Well, okay, right, this is an expression, either you know it or you don't. So a scientist whose work never sees the light, start, dawn, birth, never sees the light of day. A scientist whose work never sees the light of day has achieved nothing of worth until somebody else hears about it. Yeah, to see the light of day, it never gets exposed, basically. No, if something's underground and no one sees it, it never sees the light of day, and then it gets uncovered or it gets discovered and gets exposed to the world, gets exposure, and it sees the light of day. Yeah, absolutely. The start of day, the birth of day, they're not expressions. Dawn, we don't say the dawn of day. Did we say that? Dawn is when the sun comes up, basically. But yeah. Okay. It is essential, therefore, for scientists to lay to again, an expression, you either know it or you don't. Basically, scientists have to kill off. They have to kill the myth that they cannot communicate once and for all. They have to lay to sleep, lay to rest, lay to bed, lay to ground. The expression, you know it or you don't. Lay to rest, rest in peace, of course, kill something, no? Let it die. The scientists need to lay to rest the myth that they cannot communicate once and for all. Okay, well, hopefully what I have said today was of intrinsic value to you. Goodbye.